Both my wife and I aren't MBA, so we thought about it, and I'd done the GMAT actually. I did the GMAT in 2016. So in 21, my score was still valid. But honestly, I was a bit confused what I would go there and do. After a Ivy League degree in the US and graduating with a 4.0 with honors, I got an internship. 1 CR on my education, right? So then it felt really bad to come back and get an internship. Yeah. I believe there is an opportunity in coffee for brands to operate between the 70 to 100 rupee price. I'm saying it on your show, live. We're looking for a coffee for Bharat. We need a coffee for Bharat. I didn't realize what a luxury car costs. I never bought a car. I bought one car in my life, Creta. And I want to upgrade from the Creta because Creta had been 5 years. And I saw the price of those cars and I was thinking to myself, between the price of my Creta and the price of this car is 10 startup investments. So I can't buy this expensive car. Allow it to be a dialogue. Don't just, I was on a call once, it was a 45-minute block. The founder spoke for 43 minutes. My God. And then said, do you have any questions? I said, I have to go.
Alright, so if you're wondering who am I going to talk to today for this particular version, for this particular episode of Conversations Cafe Podcast edition, I have someone who wears his brand, which is close to his heart, probably. And we are talking to Arjun Vaidya, who is a VC. I know for a fact that you had a very celebrated 100 crore exit. You are the monk who sold his Ferrari. You had a education abroad. You actually are a VC as well, but I don't know is who you are personally.
Vaidya, my last name means Ayurvedic doctor. I come from a legacy of 150 years of Ayurvedic doctors. My grandfather, great-grandfather and generations before all Ayurvedic doctors. The legacy of my business was not a business, it was an Ayurvedic clinic, which my grandfather ran. My dad wanted to join him and build a consumer brand out of it. But doctors and businessmen don't see eye to eye.
Yeah.
My dada didn't care for sales, distribution, marketing or strategy. He was one who cared for service. He offered a free consultation in his clinic. So eventually he told my dad, either you work with me in this clinic or you go your own way, because my dad convinced him to do TV advertising.
Right.
He lost money for the first time in his life and then he said this, doctors don't lose money.
They only make it.
Yeah. They make less or more, but it's not a business which has the ability to lose money, right? So my dad started his own business in the jewelry and watch space. That's my family business. But I grew up with juvenile bronchitis. I suffered from asthma. I grew up with pumps, nebulizers, inhalers, steroids. I was the only kid who couldn't play cricket and football growing up. I love cricket, as I said. But I was playing golf and squash because there was no dust on the golf course and there was no dust in the indoor squash court. And it annoyed me that all my friends are playing cricket and football, they're watching cricket and football, and I'm the only guy who's like alone playing golf. Just imagine a 7-year-old kid with a hand-eye coordination problem trying to hit a golf ball. I mean, you miss 95% of the times you try to hit, right? Asthma prevented me from having a normal childhood and it annoyed me. And so I got on Ayurvedic treatment very early, about age 2.5. And by age 15, I was cured of asthma by Ayurvedic medicine. And what's the first thing I went and did? I started playing cricket. Right? So I went to school in Bombay, in IB school called Dhirubhai Ambani International School. Didn't have a cricket team. So we convinced a British history teacher in the school to become our coach, and we started a cricket team. And one thing I learned from my grandfather was discipline.
Right.
Show up every day. I was not the best player on the team. I was just the only guy who went to every single practice. I went to every single practice. And so I was made captain of the school cricket team. That moment actually changed a lot in my life.
Right.
Because I started believing that Ayurveda was more than just family legacy. It had given me something I wanted back, my childhood. Do more than just being my family legacy. I went to college for my undergrad in the US. I went to Brown University and I was going to study biotechnology.
I wanted to ask you, Arjun here, sorry to interject you. Why did you decide to go abroad? Why did you not stay back in India? You were always a Bombay-born kid. You saw how the city functioned. You had your education here. You probably studied at one of the best schools also that this particular city can offer. Why decide to go abroad? That's one. And secondly, did you like that experience when you actually got this?
I loved the experience. It was the best 4 years of my life. What was the thought process behind going abroad? I wasn't going to be an engineer. And so I wanted to study liberal arts. I wanted to study various different subjects. And 2009 liberal arts had not come to India as such, right? Now we have institutions coming,
Correct.
starting this. I'm very patriotic, by the way. I wear this band with the Indian flag on my hand. I've been wearing it for the last 13, 14 years. I knew I was going to come back to India after my education abroad. But what that US college experience gave me was a lot of exposure. So that exposure, that learning, meeting people from other cultures, opening up your mind, I think that was beautiful. Having said that, if I am to look into the future, now that I have a 5-month-old, I am pretty sure that she will not go to study abroad. She may study in an Indian institution which is world class, where she'll have the option to go abroad for some time to get exposure, to see new things. But by the time we hit 2050, which is actually maybe 2045 is when my daughter will go to college, there will be enough world-class, high-quality, university-level educational institutions in India. I think what we have today is the IITs and the IIMs. They are world-class. We have ISB now, and we'll have many more as you're seeing them come by. And so I went abroad. I had a great time, but I don't think my daughter will go.
If given a chance now, that in the stage of your life that you are in right now, would you still go back and do an MBA from an institute like an IIM or an ISB?
I thought about it. When we sold the company in April 21, we had pretty much no plan, right? It happened really fast. And so both my wife and I aren't MBA. So we thought about it, and I'd done the GMAT actually. I did the GMAT in 2016. So in 21, my score was still valid. But honestly, I was a bit confused what I would go there and do. In the sense, like, I remember my dad saying that the loss on your Dr. Vaidya's P&L from year 1 costs more than a Harvard MBA will cost. But this is more valuable. Probably, I always have that thing in the back of my mind, yaar, MBA nahi kiya hai, you know? Not that I'm feeling like sad or ashamed about it, but I just didn't feel, I didn't feel what I would go in an MBA and do. More and more you'll see that MBAs should and will move towards experiential learning. And if that's the case, then maybe people like me will feel comfortable. But after running a business for 5 years, going through the ups and downs, through the roller coaster, struggling, building, scaling, selling, I didn't know what was left in an MBA to learn from the books, from the theory. And lots of people say, I go to MBA for exposure, I go to MBA for network. Now network is democratized. Yeah. If you write me a message on LinkedIn, I'll reply.
You know, interestingly enough, you said that you went to Brown, you studied there, but you came back to India to start working in a firm that is probably a little difficult for me to pronounce right now. But you would be able to tell me what that firm was, what was the kind of role that you were taking. Why did you not continue working there? What was the thought behind coming back?
Yeah, it was a very clear thought not to work there. And the thought was that, look, I didn't come back and work in a non-profit. I knew that I had this exposure that less than 1% of India gets to study in a top institution, whether it's in India or abroad, right? We have this chance that not everybody gets. And so it's our responsibility to come back and give back. And give back by just being present and contributing to the growth of the economy. And so I thought, like, what will I do? I want to eventually move back to India. Spend 4 years of my undergrad in the US. Then I'll work 2-3 years. Then I'll do an MBA 2-3 years. I'll come back after 10 years. I would have lost touch with India. Doing business in India is very different. And also, why am I going there to get 2-3 years more experience to come back anyway? I might as well just come back. What's the big deal? And so I came back in 2013. Actually, it wasn't a great time to come back.
Yeah.
The economy was at an all-time low. We had crazy currency depreciation. There was scam after scam, 2G scam, CAG scam. It was pretty somber time to come. And I worked at a private equity fund called L Capital Asia, private equity arm of Louis Vuitton Moet Hennessy Group, investing in consumer. It was a grim time to come back to India.
Right. And what was your work like? I mean, the firm that you joined, was that the place where you actually got into the world of private equity, equity analysis?
So look, I would say that time I was an analyst. I was 21 and a half years old. I got tremendous exposure. What I knew at that time was I wanted to be in the business side of brand creation. What fascinated me is that these white shoes, because they are made by Adidas, probably sell for 20 times the cost just because they're made by Adidas, right? And that whole concept of brand building just fascinated me. And so I started thinking to myself, like, I want to be in the business side of brands. I got this amazing opportunity through an alum of Brown, who was a friend of my dad. He said, you want to be in the business side of brands? I know someone who works in this fund in Europe. I spoke to him, he said, seemed like a great kid, but there's no way I'm figuring out a visa for you to work in France, so speak to our Asia team. And then an option to work in Singapore or Bombay, and then I was just like, if I'm coming back, might as well just come back to Bombay. So I came back to Bombay. I started in August 23rd. I didn't get a job, by the way. After a Ivy League degree in the US and graduating with a 4.0 with honors, I got an internship. Because they didn't hire undergrads and people who had never seen a P&L in their life, and I didn't study business, right? I studied economics and politics in college. So I got an internship paying me 40,000 rupees a month.
Wow.
And
that's a lot from the Indian standard, actually.
But
yeah,
some
Ivy League, yeah.
1 CR on my education. So then it felt really bad to come back and get an internship on a full-time role. But I said, will I get a full-time opportunity? They were like, if you prove yourself, you have the chance. So my dad said one thing as I went into work, because I was pretty demoralized, right? Like after all this college and stuff, you get an internship. He said, make yourself indispensable and you'll get the job. Luckily for me, I worked for the first 6 months on e-commerce. Because I was the youngest member of the team, they were like, we missed investing in e-commerce in the US, we missed investing in e-commerce in China, why don't you look at it? And the first company I worked on was Myntra. I interacted with companies like Myntra, Jabong, Pepperfry, Bluestone, Zivame at that time. And I actually saw something was coming to India.
Yeah.
It was not a fad. E-commerce was here to stay, right? And then because e-commerce was here to stay and we spent time on all these companies and they were like, oh, this is the guy who knows e-commerce. And so 6-8 months later, I got a full-time job at the firm.
Right. So tell me from there, you said that it was a difficult time. You continued there for the next 2 years that you worked there.
Things changed in 2014. As government changed, the economy started looking up. It wasn't a tough time anymore.
Right. Did you have, good things to say about the government in the last 10 years, whatever happened, and the kind of shift that we have seen in the minds of people who are in the field of business or...
Yeah, I think there's positivity in being Indian. There's positivity in consuming Indian brands. There's pride in being Indian. India is something on the global stage. I think there's lots of good things that have happened.
Right.
Not saying everything is 100% perfect. Nothing in life can be perfect. But like you go outside of India and people are just excited about India and talking about India. And when I met someone from the US this afternoon and she said, how is it like to work in India and be in India? I said, you tell me. You've been in India for the last 24, 48 hours. Doesn't it seem like the place to be right now? Even globally, right? So I think we've had a lot of good steps forward, specifically in the Ayurveda industry. Lots of good steps forward.
Talking about Ayurveda, let's talk about building a brand that is purely Ayurveda based. Was it possible before 2014 in your opinion in India? Has it happened before? How did you think about it at that point in time?
This conversation about is it possible to build an Ayurveda brand? Do people believe in Ayurveda? It's a very urban conversation. And all of my friends and family started saying, Ayurveda, do people believe in it? Is it real? Is it this or that? Go out to the top 5 cities in India, everybody believes in Ayurveda. 70% of Indian households consume at least one Ayurvedic product every day. It's a hair oil, it's a shampoo, it's a toothpaste, it's a pudin hara, it's an Eno. These are all Ayurvedic products, yeah? So all Ayurveda is ingrained in our culture now. My job was to make that 1 product, 2 products, 3 products, 4 products, 5 products, right? So, and by the way, Dabur, Imami, Patanjali, Baidyanath, Zandu, Himalayas, all 100 crore plus businesses built over the last 40, 50 years. Except Patanjali, which is sort of newer. But Ayurveda has always existed in our country. And so, you step outside Bombay, Delhi, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Ayurveda is everywhere. It's ubiquitous. Now, what we had to do as a company was make Ayurveda appealing and accessible to Paul. Because Ayurveda was appealing and accessible to Paul's mom and grandmom. But Paul needs to be excited and interested about Ayurveda. That was what we worked on as a company.
Right.
So repackaging and rebranding the science to appeal to modern consumers, that was our journey.
So let's talk a little bit about that journey. I mean, when you wanted to attract Paul in that particular space that you were in, how easy or difficult was it for you at that point in time? And how much money were you spending in acquiring this one customer from Delhi or say a Bombay or a Calcutta?
Initially it was very tough because I went to these very urban, I went to make Dr. Vaidya's urban. We launched offline, we launched a hangover product, we launched a Chyawanprash in capsule form. Multivitaminized version of Chyawanprash because we said we want to go urban, cool, sexy, fun and aspirational. It was very tough to convince Paul. But then when I went to Paul's cousin in Imphal and Vishal's cousin in Anantnag and I launched my online business, it became very easy to convince customers because they wanted high quality access to Ayurvedic products and care at the touch of their fingertips, and digital enabled us to do that. So in 2017 November, we pivoted the business from an offline distribution business to an online focused D2C brand. I started speaking to the customers and I got some crazy things, crazy insights. Customers coming from all over the country, not speaking English. No one spoke English. Less than 20% of my customers spoke English.
Right.
So it was truly a Bharat brand that we were able to build.
And how did you lose more money than what you would have, spent at HBS in the first year?
We made a lot of mistakes. We went offline. Without realizing how much money we needed to market. We hired a sales team of 22 sales reps, put 10 lakhs of stock in market, not realizing that we have sold this to distributors. Only once distributors sell to retailers sell to Paul, and Paul pays me, Paul pays the retailer, do I get paid? Paul didn't buy my product. So 3 months later when I went to collect the money from the distributors, they said, here's 90% of your stock back, it never sold. What do you do there? What do you do there? Right? So I think all of these mistakes made me lose.
Right. And if I have to ask you, at this point in time, in 2023, if I have to start a brand like this, what do I have to, keep in mind? That's the first thing. And in 2023, how easy or difficult it is to
It's damn tough, Paul.
cut it.
In 2023, it's really hard because 2017, 2018 is when the first set of D2C brands came up in India. That time we didn't use this term D2C.
Yeah.
Then we started having some growth in 2019. 2020, March, pandemic hit us. Online went through the roof.
Yeah.
But with online going through the roof, the number of brands, while the number of customers increased, the number of brands increased significantly. 50 people, 50 Ayurveda brands have taken my D2C cohort-based course. 50, only doing online Ayurveda. So competition is at its all-time high in D2C. Now, with competition being at its all-time high, you cannot do what we did. What did we do? We launched an Ayurveda business without knowing how to do online, and we took 1 year to figure the online market out.
Yeah.
Today you have 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks and max. Your customers will come and kill you. Your competition will come and kill you. So today if you are launching a D2C brand, forget Ayurveda, just a D2C brand, you need to know your technicals, you need to get off the ground much faster, you need to understand the nuts and bolts of an e-commerce business much quicker, and you need to build something that's not just based on performance marketing. You can't just rely on Google and Facebook ads to build your business like I did. You have to build what's called a brand. You have to build the qualitative, you have to build the messaging, you have to build the aspiration. So it's definitely much harder than it was in 2017, 2018 to build a D2C brand, but the scale available if you get it right is much more.
Right.
Because there are just much more customers who trust buying online now.
Right. And do you think that, because of all these that is available right now, the CACs have gone down for a lot of companies. They have also understood the kind of importance of taking down the acquisition cost for a lot of these startups. You also invest in a lot of startups, and probably this is the biggest headache for all these startups who are looking at it. How then do you think this problem can be solved? So it's definitely a problem that's out there in the market right now, right? So for example, a lot of D2C players have come up, a lot of competition is there, and a lot of people are actually fighting for the same users who are going to buy these products. So how do you declutter this space? How do you solve for it?
There's one word that answers this question. That word is moat. What is a moat? A moat is a water body that you will see around ancient forts and castles. That's an additional line of protection. Now, how is this relevant in business? It's relevant in business because you need some defensibility that uniquely differentiates your brand from the rest. For Jio, that differentiation was price. For Apple Airports, that differentiation was convenience. For Dr. Vaidya, that differentiation was form factor. For Mama, that differentiation was ingredient story and vegan and cruelty free. For Attenberg, that differentiation was technology, BLDC fans. So each of these have displayed a unique way to cut yourself through the clutter. And so if I think of brands today who want to exist and scale and really find their way, they have to find some USP or unique differentiator that helps them cut through the clutter of the brands and the competition and get into the mind space of the consumer.
Right. So, but Arjun, very interestingly, you said that you have to find a USP within a category of coffee. I mean, there are 5, 6, 7, 10 coffee brands that I know for a fact who are, fighting it out as a D2C player. How do you differentiate a coffee?
You can differentiate in cafe experience. You can differentiate in pop products. So in cafe experience, Starbucks third way are differentiated. They build nice businesses. Product experience, there are products like Subco, which are sort of the best, most artisanal products. But then there's a brand called Theka Coffee, which came on Shark Tank, which is a popcorn flavored coffee and a palang tod coffee. I think there is one more opportunity in coffee, and that opportunity is price. Now, I was discussing this with someone this morning.
Yeah.
There is chai, which you get sort of on the streets from a chai wala, etc. And that's in smaller cities maybe $10, $15 now. In Bombay, maybe you pay 20, $30 for that chai. If you go to Chaios or Chai Point, you'll pay $60 to $80 for the chai. From there, if a customer wants to graduate to coffee, what do they pay for coffee? What do you pay at Starbucks for coffee? 350 rupees.
350, yes.
Now, India is premiumizing. We are building aspiration. We have a burgeoning middle class that wants more and more and more. Can I graduate from a 60 to 80 rupee chai to a 350 rupee coffee and pay 5x? The answer is no. So I believe there is an opportunity in coffee for brands to operate between the 70 to 100 rupee price point. I'm saying it on your show live. We are looking for a coffee for Bharat. We need a coffee for Bharat. India needs a coffee at that price point so that consumers can nicely graduate from tea. I'll give you the example of the energy drink market. What does Red Bull cost?
Around 100, I think.
125. So the energy drink market has Red Bull at 125 and then Sting, which is Pepsi's product, at what price point?
30?
$20. Now, Sting is 1.4 billion bottles a year, 2,100 crore business. Red Bull is doing 1,700 crores at 125. Can a Sting customer graduate to pay 6x for Red Bull? The answer is no. See, aspiration is there. I have a Maruti 800 and I want a Mercedes, but I have to buy the Creta or the Ciaz or the Honda City or the Alto or the Swift in between, right? To get the Swift, then the City, then the Skoda Octavia, and then move to the Mercedes, right? Every customer has their journey. While I aspire for a Mercedes, even though I'm driving a Maruti 800, that's fine. But my journey has to go from here to there. And so lots of these spaces, you are seeing this unique mass premium price point open to play. And that's where scale is.
Which one are you driving though?
Which one am I driving? All. I'm an investor, I should drive all, right?
Right, that was a trick question, but yeah, I mean, you passed. Let's move on to what happened next when you actually decided that you want an exit, when you got that, and it's like in hand on cash deals that you were looking at. You had a lot of money in the bank now, and you probably were thinking, "Abhi itne paise ka karna kya hai?" Right? So, what was the next logical step?
I didn't think about that, to be honest. I bought a house in the same building as my parents, and then life moved on.
Right.
That's about it. I didn't buy a fancy car. I drive an MG EV. When I sold my business, my dad is very passionate about cars. So he took me to the Audi and the Mercedes showroom because he likes cars. I didn't realize what a luxury car costs. I never bought a car. I bought one car in my life, Creta. I want to upgrade from the Creta because the Creta had been 5 years. And I saw the price of those cars and I was thinking to myself, between the price of my Creta and the price of this car is 10 startup investments. So I can't buy this expensive car. So nothing changed in life. I think yes, it's nice to have financial security, to have your own home, etc. All of that. But that's it.
Right.
But I'll tell you one thing which is very unique about an exit, especially the age and the time frame that I got it at. You're totally free. Totally free.
Yeah.
Means you're like you never get this opportunity. Someone told me this. People go their whole lives on the treadmill and they don't come off.
Yeah.
You have this unique, beautiful opportunity to be able to pause. Use it wisely.
What did you do? Let's simplify what your work is right now, in whatever capacity that you are in. Or
Absolutely.
If you are a VC, what exactly are the VC's role supposed to be? What exactly is the VC's role supposed to be? And
Sure.
if you are working or if you are interested in getting into the world of VC, what sort of skills or requirements do I need to have in myself to do being?
Lots of questions. I'll go one by one. We sold the company. We had nothing to do. So we said, okay, what do we know? We know what we've been through. So let's help founders. So both Trish and I give 12 hours of our week to founders, like pro bono, just talking to people. We met some amazing people and we said, hey, we have some skills and some knowledge. Let's disseminate information and help people. So we started helping founders. I started this podcast called Direct to a Billion Consumers to talk about the D2C space, because lots of American podcasts on this, but nothing in India. But through all of this, we also had capital available. Right? So we started investing in companies. That has translated to more than 90 companies in the last 2 years now, across spaces, backed some amazing founders. And then I realized I really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed the role of meeting new people. I really enjoyed the role of hearing founder stories. I really enjoyed the role of enabling founders. And so with all of that, I wanted to find something more to do. And serendipity, I got connected to the folks at World Invest. I spoke to Arjun Anand. And we had a general chat just about the market, the world, what's happening. And then he said, look, we are a private equity fund, a late stage fund, investing $15 million plus. We're looking for someone who's built and sold a consumer business, who's below the age of 40, to run a VC early stage strategy for us. It seems like you have the right sort of chops and the right vibe for this, so let's get to know each other. So we got to know each other over the next 3-4 months. December 2021, I partnered with them to launch an early stage strategy in India, now called V3 Ventures, to invest in the early stage of consumers. So what do? I invest 5 to 35 crores, seed to Series A, across the consumer landscape. That includes brands, tech, enablers and platforms. We've invested in companies like Kuku FM, Eka Care. We're just about to close a regional language education deal. Maybe by the time this podcast is up, that deal would be announced. So we partner with entrepreneurs in the consumer space, and with our expertise, knowledge and background, both as World Invest and me, who's built a business, and my team, through this role, I want to enable the next 1,000 entrepreneurs.
Right.
We create one Dr. Vaidya's. Can we enable, foster, help, assist, advise, mentor the next 1,000 companies? That's my goal. So the second part of the question you asked me, how does one break into VC? Look, it's a small industry, and there are many new funds coming and many new jobs available, but it's not an industry where there are 100 jobs, 200 jobs, 500 jobs created every month. That's not like this. So it's not easy to break into VC. But what can one do to break into VC? Now that I speak to a lot of sort of folks who are graduating from college and folks who are like early part of their career, VC is different from private equity. Private equity means you have to have really strong finance skills, financial modeling skills, understand P&Ls really well. VC is a lot of qualitative. It's a lot of market understanding. It's a lot of meeting companies. It's a lot of your own network. It's a lot about meeting founders. So if you come to me and you say, I've not worked in VC, but in the last 1 month, I've met 50 new companies.
Yeah.
Or I've met 30 new companies. That is more exciting to me than, hey, I can make this excel.
Right.
That's, I would say, the best way to get VC. Show intent and be a part of the ecosystem.
Does the degree, like an MBA degree from a good institute, help in cutting through and getting a job?
I run a VC fund. I'm not an MBA.
Right. That's why I wanted an answer from you. Do you hire these people who come in from different...
Look, I'm not saying I'm biased for or against people with an MBA. I want to see this intent. I want to see the ability to make deals. I want to see the ability to connect with founders. I want to see the ability to show up at an event and meet 20 founders in a day. I want to see that. That's VC.
Would you then say that, this is in tandem with what you have to do as a salesperson as well?
Yeah. What I feel, I put an Instagram reel about this, right? As an early stage founder, when someone comes to your office for an interview, it's very counterintuitive. Because actually, if it's a good candidate, you do 70% of the talking. You are pitching, it's a reverse pitch. I've pitched to so many people, my vision. Similarly, as a VC, you are also selling. I sell our fund to founders. I talk about what we do. It's not just them talking about what they do. It's both ways, and there's no shame in that at all. Zero shame. I have zero shame in pitching my fund to you. Why you should take money from me?
I will definitely take that up, and I will definitely pass it on to my CEO. But on the same note, we have a program running on AltUni where we are giving a certification program on VCs. People like you who have been part of a very big firms.
They must come.
Yeah, absolutely. You're welcome, and I'm sure that a lot of people who go through this particular program, they will also learn a little bit more about what exactly goes into getting into the world of VC, and I'm sure today's podcast is also going to help them in learning some bits of it for sure. So for you, we talked about who can get into this. What are the kind of early work jobs that you need to do? What exactly is going to be my job as somebody who is just going out of a B school, joining a VC firm like yours? is expected to do?
I'll say what kind of experience will help you. Internships at VC funds, if possible. Internships or job experience at startups. Understanding the grind. Being a founder who may have tried something and it didn't work out. Consulting is obviously something that people talk about as well, which could help because it gives you breadth of knowledge. And the other thing is, if you have none of this, go join an angel network on the weekends, pay 17,000, 20,000 rupees to join that angel network and show up for 50 pitch calls. That experience is invaluable, right? That's intent.
A lot of times it is also said that because we are sitting in Bombay and it's a world of films that we are part of, at times people say that अगर पैसा है तो producer बन जाएगा. Is it the case for VCs as well? अगर पैसा है तो VCs भी बन जाएगा?
Not necessarily. Actually, some of the most wealthy people invest their money with other managers, funds, portfolio managers, etc. So, money isn't the way to be a good investor.
Yes.
The way you think about the market, the way you allocate money, that is a good investor. Pick the right stocks, right? If you're investing in the stock market, pick the right companies if you're a VC. Build the right network, know everyone. When a company is raising money and it's a company that has a competitive deal going on, you should have met the founder 1 year before and already built the relationship. That is the skill of a VC.
What do you exactly look for when you are looking for a startup or a founder? Is it the attitude? Is it the kind of vision that they have? Is it the 5-year plan that they sell you? Or is it something else altogether?
It's all of the above. 50% founder, who is that person? What's their background? Why will they fight through tough times? Why do they have a right to win in that space? Right to win meaning there are lots of problems to be solved in space, but I'm not an aeronautical engineer. But in Ayurveda, I had a right to win 150 years of family legacy. Second, when I enter a company, I should be able to see a 10x, 15x, 20x growth from there as an early stage investor. So TAM, addressable market, is there a big enough market to go from where we enter to where it ends? Or is it a small niche category? Like I am sugar-free, gluten-free. Sugar-free, gluten-free products is small niche categories. 20% on market. 30% on what everyone talks about. Business, economics, gross margin, growth velocity, revenue growth, customer acquisition cost, lifetime value, EBITDA profile, who is the team supporting the founder, 30% on that. So 50% founder, 20% market, 30% business, economics and team. That's how I look at business in general. Obviously it goes up and down, but this is what I think.
Which are the kind of investments that you have done that you are very proud of?
I'm very proud of Kuku FM. I met the company when they had 80,000 paid subscribers. They have more than 3 million paid subscribers now. Users spend 80 plus minutes a day on the app. They learn about book summaries of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. They learn short courses about derivative trading, my program on e-commerce. It's really democratizing learning and giving access to aspirational content and knowledge to users who don't have this in their language.
Right.
And translated as business as well. They've raised more money, they've grown significantly, but it's a huge impact.
So let's talk about the Kuku story. When exactly was it pitched to you? What was that story like?
Actually, it was before it was pitched to me. I used to host a Ayurveda podcast on Kuku called Daily Ayurvedic Tips. We used to do one tip on Ayurveda every day on our WhatsApp. So I used to just read that tip out and upload it to Kuku. So that was the background of how I got to know the company. And then in October 21, they pitched to me when they had 80,000 paid subscribers and they were raising some money. By December 21, they reached 250,000. At 80,000, I was like, oh, it's a little bit early for us. You still need to show growth. By December, they hit 250,000. I called up the founder and I said, boss, I want in on that round. Figure out a way to get me in. Just figure a way to get me in. I want in. And so eventually we invested the money in April. The round took some time to close and paperwork and stuff like that. By the time we closed the round, they had 650k paid subscribers. The next round got committed. By the time that round got closed in July, August 21, they had 1.6 million paid subscribers.
So they were growing
And by
aggressively.
the way, this 1.63 million number is more than Ghana and Savan's paid subscribers put together. Crazy, right?
Absolutely. And what has been your biggest bet so far? So for example, you said that Kuku is something that you are very proud of.
Also our biggest bet.
It's also your biggest bet. But something where, the founders themselves probably were not very sure about it, the growth of it, and then you saw something in there, and then it's kind of floating right now. I'm not saying that it probably is as big as Kuku.
I have not backed a founder who's not sure or isn't sure of their ambition or where they want to go. I have definitely been surprised by some results. I can tell you I'm very surprised by the scale Jimmy's Cocktails, for example, has achieved. I'm reasonably pleasantly surprised. But I don't back someone who's not sure if they can do it or not. Because at the end of the day, early on, when you have little bit of sales or presentation, all you have is belief. It's all you have. That's our currency. Belief and the ability to sell a vision.
And what is the most unique story that you remember of somebody who has come to you and pitched to you and sort of it stayed with you, with the conviction or the
I
kind of...
spoke to a founder who was from a tier 4 town in UP. He had a business of sari retail shops. He had 3 retail shops, 1 in his town and 2 in the neighboring towns. He had seen Shark Tank, so he wanted to raise money. But he was doing 11 CR a year with a 2 CR a year profit. I told him, thank you for your time. You don't need money. You don't need my money. You don't need anyone else's money. Go keep building your business. You're killing it.
If I have to ask you, what advice do you have for the startup founders of today who are sitting at the gold mine right now, as you mentioned, in India, where growth is the only thing that we are seeing? What are the kind of pitfalls that they fall into, and how do they make sure that they become successful from the beginning?
I have 2 pieces of advice. One, stay hungry, stay foolish and keep building, because this is our decade, this is our time. But secondly, build sustainably.
Right.
This business model of burning through lots of investor money just to figure out the business, it's fine if you're solving for 5 years of growth in 2 years, but at some point the business has to have a clean and healthy P&L. And that's what we're coming back to now, but that's what business is. People say, oh, now the market has turned, now you want profitability. But business is to be made for profits, right?
Right, and did that worry you at any point where you were seeing that a lot of money is going into it and you were like, "Arey yaar, bahut paisa loss."
See, 21 and 22 was crazy. It was a crazy time in the investment world. Did it worry me? No, because I'm fundamentally long on the India opportunity. But I think some things happen at a higher valuation than they should have. Something happens faster than they should have. And that's all rationalized now. But I'm bullish on India. India's the place to be. We have the good fortune of interacting, connecting with people from the West. They are envious of what we have in India. Does it feel like a recession here?
No.
And if it feels like a recession in Bombay, you go to a tier 2 city in India, they don't even know that this is happening globally. India's booming.
Right. And how do you look at valuation of startups? So when you are looking at startups to invest, when you are looking at the kind of valuations that they have pitched to you, is there a way of cross-verifying, checking whether those valuations figures make sense or not?
See, valuation at an early stage is notional, right? It's what 2 people decide in a room if it's a seed deal, or then you use some metrics like sales because you can't do a valuation on profitability, etc. But I was telling a founder today who wanted a very high valuation that I thought she was not able to get, and we were not chatting about me investing, we were just chatting about generally what we should do. And I said, look, a lot of people are chasing valuation, but if you raise primary money and money goes in your company, valuation is a paper metric. It's not like your stake in the company multiplied the valuation of the company is your net worth at that time, because that's not money coming to you. It's money going to the company, and you're taking with that money a fiduciary responsibility to compound that money before you take anything out of it, right? So my advice always to founders is, don't go too high, don't go too low. There's an attraction to go high, but if you go high, the next one has to be even higher.
Right.
And then higher and higher, because once you've taken money from someone X, you deliver them 2x, 3x, 5x or 10x. So keep that in mind as well.
What are the basic mistakes, in your opinion, that startup founders do when they meet you? Because you said that you meet 1,000 people and then the number is somewhere around 5, 10, and that's the number that I have seen or heard from every VCs that I've spoken to.
Yeah, so I think, I won't say all founders make it, but things you can do to make an investor pitch better. Go prepare to the meeting, know who you're meeting, their background, what they've done. It already eases the conversation much better. 2, preempt questions, right? Like, think about what questions you could be asked, where the weaknesses, where the holes, and keep your sort of answers ready. Number 3, allow it to be a dialogue. Don't just, I was on a call once, it was a 45-minute block. The founder spoke for 43 minutes.
My God.
And then said, do you have any questions? I said, I have to go. And then after every meeting, figure out what the follow-up is.
Which are the kind of sectors that you are banking on right now? Which are the sectors that you see booming, especially because of the kind of changes and the shifts that are happening in the consumer tech world, in the businesses that you have also invested in? You said Kuku as an example as well. Which are these startups that you feel are made for the future?
I'll talk about spaces. In consumer brands, I think there is lots of space in proprietary, science-based, unique, differentiated health and wellness. Pets is an up-and-coming theme, although smaller but very up-and-coming humanization of pets. home and kitchen, mein, there's lots of disruption that's going to happen. Not enough new brands have come. I think India's getting fitter. And so sports, nutrition, fitness, we will have action at the mass premium price point. Bharat, the next 200 million, 250 million consumers will drive the growth of this economy. And so solutions that are catering to them in their languages, in their comfort zone, at their price points, both in tech and in brands, spaces we should all spend time on. Absolutely spend time.
Arjun, one caveat from this, and in my limited reading that I have done, I have seen that, the millions of users that we talk about, the Bharat that we talk about, the adoption generally is not as fast as the metro cities. And that probably is a problem that a lot of D2C players also have faced over the years. And that has probably resulted in them spending a lot of money in user acquisition that has burned a lot of money for the VC.
Yeah, so I think that some of this is just perception. I have access to all the malls and stores offline in Bombay, which someone in Guwahati may not have. So if they aspire for X brand, which is not even available in their city, online is the only place to get it. Right? So I think sometimes it's our urban lens that makes us have these perceptions. Also, I will say one thing on technology lens. The government is coming up with this centralized app for EV charging. Instead of having various power companies have their own apps and stuff like that. Think about India Stack. UPI, DigiYatra, Aadhaar, ABHA in the health space, ONDC. Now all of this behavior makes 10 years ago digital payment, NEFT, SWIFT, IMPS, it was painful. Now I don't have cash, I have my phone, it's okay. It's chilled. So I think with all of this digital stack being built, tech becoming ubiquitous to every handheld smartphone in the country, adoption will grow much faster than we think. We will leapfrog lots of behaviors.
So, as a VC right now who is investing in a lot of companies, is it just monetary investment that you give to them, or there is more to it attached with it as well, as in form of mentorship, in the form of your own experience of building a brand and then getting an exit and the plethora of experience, right, that you have gained by talking to so many people?
Yeah, I would hope so. I would hope that people value me more than just the money I give. But I think it's overrated to believe that an investor changes the destiny of a company. I'm a catalyst. I can help you, advise you, mentor you, open doors for you, sit down with you and help you with strategy. But the day-to-day is never going to be done by me.
Right.
And I'll never want to do that as well if I'm an investor in a company. I'm betting on a person or a group of people who are the founders. And I believe in them rather than me to be able to do it. Yes, if they're stuck with something, they can call me. A passenger who's helping put up the sail. But I'm not steering the ship, not at all. That's the founder and I trust that founder to be able to do that.
Right. Somebody who's listening to you right now, how do he or she reach out to Arjun Vaidya for guidance?
I'm available on LinkedIn, I'm available on Instagram. Just write to me. I usually respond, maybe taking a little bit longer now because of the amount of inflow, but I respond.
Because what happens, Arjun, is the foot in the door becomes very important, right? Once I get your attention is only when I get 10 minutes of your time to pitch what I have in mind. That my mind have a very small idea, a very big idea.
Be creative about the way you get people's attention. Not mine, because I respond. But be creative about the way you get people's attention.
Right.
Like I had a guy who wanted to invite me to a podcast and his podcast didn't have so many viewers or followers or whatever. But he actually sent me an email with a virtual picture of me and him where he photoshopped my face and his face in a room like this sitting across a table and talking. And he's like, I want you here and I've already visualized myself doing a podcast with you, so you better do it.
Lovely. Okay, let's talk about the funding space right now in India, the kind of winter that we have seen, the kind of times that we are probably seeing even today, right? With a lot of startup owners, founders, they're struggling at the moment right now. How do you see, what time do you see this ending? Do you see that in near future we are going to bounce back and we are going to get back on the race of creating more and more startups who add value?
Does it feel like winter in Bombay? It's like a furnace right now. I think, look, after every winter there is summer. There is rationalization. There is some drop in valuations. There is more time being taken, but good business are still getting funded. This winter will separate the men from the boys and only the good businesses will get capital, but eventually that's what happens anyways. Right? So high quality business with high quality metrics, high quality products are still getting funded. It's not like I've stopped my pace of investment. Yes, I'm spending more time with the companies. I'm thinking 3 times more before I give a valuation. But I'm not stopping investing, and nobody's stopping investing.
What are the kind of resources do I need to, go to in order to learn more from the world of VCs, from the world of investors, from the world of startups, and be ready when the time is right?
In 2013, 14, 15, when I was in this industry, there was not so much available on YouTube, on the internet. There were not so many courses. There were not so many people you could reach out to, speak to, etc. All of that. You have all of that available to you. You have angel networks that you can join. You have founders that you can speak to. You have pitches that you can listen to. You have all of this information available online. So show intent, use all that information, meet as many companies as you can, and you don't have to have the best degree from the most reputed institution. If you show this intent, that's more than anything else.
Right. And how lucrative is this particular space in your opinion?
It seems more lucrative from the outside than it is. The business of early stage investing means that you are invested in companies that are, or you're invested in stocks that are very illiquid for a long period of time. The risk is high, the return is also high if you get it right, but you don't get your money in 1 year or 2 years. You have to wait 5, 7 years to make your money.
Lovely. One final thought that I want to leave our audience with. If not this particular journey, what would have been the other journey that you would have taken in your life?
I mean, if I was better at cricket, I would have been playing cricket for India, but I was never talented to be able to do that, so that's why I got on this journey.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Arjun, for...
Paul, it's been amazing. What a conversation. I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you for
I
having
really
me.
enjoyed this conversation. And Arjun, because you are somebody who runs his own podcast, I want you to finish this particular episode. I want you to look at this particular camera and address and tell our audience whatever you want them to learn from or take away from this particular podcast.
Thank you for listening to this episode. It's been an absolute pleasure being here with Paul and deep diving on the conversation. I think the few things I wanted you to take away from this conversation are the journey of an entrepreneur, the rigor it takes, the amount you have to give in, what it takes to be an entrepreneur who sees the journey through to an exit, what the VC industry looks like, what startup investing means, and what skills you would need as someone who's contemplating or looking to get into this industry. So I hope you enjoyed listening to the episode, and yeah, subscribe to the channel and keep listening.